Hi everyone, I'm Marla Miller from marlamiller.com, joining the Writer magazine to critique your query letters. In this column called Critique My Query, that's exactly what I do. I also do it over at my website and have been doing it here since I believe August. I have lots of letters. As I've said before, I try to rotate them, fiction, nonfiction. However, the majority of our letters are fiction, both here and at marlamiller.com. So I've got another fiction, and this is a coming of age, and I'm just going to go ahead and read it and then do my critique and encourage all of you to jump on the comments at Critique My Query and let me know what you think of it. Was it helpful to you? And not just for the author whose letter I'm reading, but we should be able to get some good stuff from just about every query critique that we read. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and read the letter. If you hear a telephone in the background, I'm at a friend's house. And, so I do them on the road. Here we go. This one was given to me in September, so we're not too far behind. Dear blank, fate intervened. Of course, with my family's history, what else could I expect? Fate has always ruled my life. Thus begins a simple twist of fate, a 108-word coming-of-age literary novel of fate versus free will, of the simple virtues of rural America set against the majesty of her greatest cities, of family redemption and undying friendship. The problems of Nick Mason are not unlike those of most college seniors in the class of 1986, choosing a career, finding a girl, surviving a night in jail. But a shadow hangs over his life. 5 centuries before his birth, the man after whom he would be named, the first Nicholas Mason, was sentenced to death. His crime standing in the way of his son's ambition. As the executioner's axe was poised to fall, the elder Mason damned his descendants to a common fate. Each man would live to see the day that the son would betray the father, as Nicholas's son had betrayed him. For the 500 years, this curse has held true, and thus it certainly would have with Nick. But then something unexpected happened. When he was only a boy, Nick's father was killed in a jungle in Vietnam. How can a son betray a father who's already dead? Bound by fate, but vexed with this seeming paradox, Nick has sought to break the curse in the only way he knows how, by living his life as he believes his father would have wished. But when his mother convinces him to drive a priceless work of art, a nasally, well-endowed garden gnome by an unmatched artist named Tom Cacker, from Boston to Birmingham, Nick finds his convictions about the future shaken. In this journey that takes him from hallowed halls of Harvard to the Southern Tent Revival, from New York City to a football game in the heart of Dixie, Nick meets a woman who challenges his notions of fate and destiny and offers him a life free of shackles of the past. But is she his salvation, or the very temptation that threatens to condemn him to the same doom as each of his forefathers? While having never been the subject of centuries-old curse, I have embarked upon the same journey as Nick, only in reverse. A native Southerner, I received a philosophy and history degree from the University of Alabama before traveling to the Northeast, where I attended Harvard Law School. I thank you for your time and consideration of my novel, and I hope that you enjoy reading it as much as I enjoyed writing it. Sincerely, and then he gives his credits. Okay, so what do I think of A Simple Twist of Fate? Well, I don't know if you could tell by the way that I was reading it, but it was a mouthful. For sure, it was a mouthful. So let me just a couple of things that I want to say about this query letter, and essentially it's this: less is more. What we do, and of course you can see this query letter because it's posted. 1, 2, 3. There's 4 paragraphs here, and 2 of them, actually the first 3, really tried to distill this story, which I think is fairly complicated and reads convoluted. I was not tracking it very well, and I think one of the reasons why I was thrown off, and if you saw me when I was reading it, I kind of went, huh? Was because he says that for 5 centuries before his birth, this kind of curse has been on his family, the Nick Mason family, and he would be named after the first Nicholas Mason. This is in the second paragraph. His crime standing in the way of his son's ambitions. I guess what threw me was that that first Nicholas Mason was named Nicholas Mason. And if this was 5 centuries ago, that name is awfully modern. So that was number one that I just kind of went, huh? Um, I would encourage this author to. One other thing, and I've just been made aware of this. You should all be very aware of what the word count is for your genre. So if the word count for coming of age novels is, runs in the 100 to 120 range, whatever it runs in, you should make sure that your novel is fits within the parameters of that, or I wouldn't offer it. Because if you're offering a word count that's too high or too low, what does that telegraph to an agent? That you don't know the genre. So make sure that your word count fits with the genre stipulations. Okay. I just think that this is in need of a lot of reworking, and I would really encourage this author to simplify the summary of this story, because I don't really know what it's about. I think it's certainly going to be, there's going to be mystery here. His girlfriend may betray him, but I don't really know. I really don't know what it's about, because there's so much that he offers by way of story synopsis that I got lost for sure. The fact that this is a story about someone who goes from East Coast to rural living, and this author goes from rural living to sophisticated living, I don't know how important that is. It seemed to me at the end that the reason why the author was tagging that on was to let the agent know that he was a graduate of Harvard Law. And yet this story has nothing to do with law or Harvard. So I'm not sure that we want to include that, and it might be a way to pare this down because it's a bit lengthy. At any event, I think the stronger start to this is the second paragraph, not the first. Hook us on the character and then give us backstory. But I think it has a lot of reworking to do. And so I hope that this author appreciates the fact that writing is rewriting, and this query letter needs to be rewritten. And here's the beauty of getting news that you may not want. Oftentimes, when you are able to write a query letter that really nails it, it's because you really nailed your story. You really know what your story is about. So don't look at these query letters as rewrites of rejections, but maybe as with each rewrite, you're getting closer to what the heart of your story is about. I hope that's helpful. Jump on the comments section and let me know. Until the next time, be well and keep writing.